Hi, everyone. I am so happy to welcome Jackie to the show, a Southern California matchmaker. How are you, Jackie?
I'm doing really well. I'm so excited about this.
Yes, me too. Jackie has a really special program called Ignite Life and Love. She specializes in women over 45 embracing an alcohol-free lifestyle and helping women like me make supportive matches. And I think I'm really excited because you just told me you're also expanding to Europe, and I do love the warmth of these Mediterranean men. So and I really appreciate, as I started this dating journey, alcohol has immediately come into play as a huge factor in dating. And so I really appreciate the work you're doing. I mean, I'm myself am not alcohol free, although I've thought about it many times. And my most significant relationship ended due to alcohol addiction. So I'm really looking forward to digging into this with you more deeply. I mean, it's also obviously a topic that has resonated with people. Our most popular episode is about a date I went on where the man drank a lot. And so it's just really great to have you here. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Wonderful.
Highlight of my week. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Well, that is the highlight of mine too. So, Jackie, I really just love the work that you're doing, and I'm actually really curious to know how you got into this. I mean, it's you were a recruiter, and I think you founded your company 2 years ago, if I'm correct.
You're great at your research. There is no hiding from true love, it sounds like. So yeah, I thought about you would probably ask this question and it's the why. And for many years, I sort of happened into recruiting. Actually, I was getting my master's degree up in San Francisco, and it just so happened that it happened, this big tech explosion happened. So recruiting was the best way to keep people skills. And actually, some of those startups liked that I had a master's degree in psychology, just because when people make big decisions, life decisions, they like the kind of guidance of somebody who's
Yeah,
studied the
for
psyche.
sure.
So, for 20 years plus, and I know you lived in the Bay Area, it was just a hustle. I helped build, I helped companies get acquired, but there was something that always felt like, I wasn't making the impact that I really
Mm,
believed I was put here to do. And there was also another theme, even when I was married, but definitely when I was out and about in the city with the girls, I always took on this wing woman role. It just sort of, I guess it was safer because I had a husband back at home and I was out with the girls, but like I always beckon it, made these little matches when
oh my
we were out
gosh.
in the city. So it was a fun time. It was um an interesting time because San Francisco with, different cultures and the gay population, all these pieces, all these factors mattered. And I know you've spent time in that market as well as New York. Those are really
Right.
challenging markets for women in their, mid 20s to mid 30s. But, over time, as I
So
evolved in
funny to
my
call it a market.
business,
A men
yeah,
market.
I I actually found about 5 years ago I'm going to start that. I'd been thinking about matchmaking. I even hired a business coach. I was serious. And then life happened. I got into these couple um really depleting startups where I was the only person in charge of recruiting. I was just exhausted, day in, day out, working at least 12-hour days. And so that kind of went on the back burner again. But then it really, not only did it like the pandemic did something, I moved in with my sister. Don't live with your sibling as an adult. That was one lesson I learned. But I got to see an unexpected single status from my sister because she and her husband of 25 years split during that time. She was now
Mm,
officially in her 50s. She had turned 50 right before this happened. And I watched her unsuccessfully go through what dating looks like. these days, and that is through the apps, and it's
Mhm.
not a good look for women in their midlife. Um, the men, my sister, unfortunately, she'd like been with her husband for so long, she didn't know how to date. She was kind of a middle schooler the way she approached things. And so, Jill, sorry if you're watching this. She did give me this little awesome sister thing. I'll give her
Aw.
a plug because she did not know how to go about this. And secondly, she was living with I had to identify it was a genetic disease. Now she has that too, but it's called hemochromatosis, and it's the we overproduce iron at alarming rates. It's a very
Mm.
odd genetic, a family disease, but alcohol is the worst thing you can put in your system. You cannot process alcohol when your liver is so compromised. It swims in iron. So she
Yeah.
knew she had to give up alcohol, yet all those apps were saying, "Hey, come meet me for cocktails. Let's
Right.
have
Yeah,
cocktail,
buy you a
let's meet
drink.
at the
Mhm.
bar." And I should get home 3 nights a week tipsy, and I knew alcohol wasn't good for her. I made the decision to start living this life. And so we figured out together there has to be something different. So I helped her.
Mm.
We went on some I'm not going to say they're patented, but we went on a couple wing women sessions and we
I love
found
it.
her man. She is now living with
Oh
just
my
here in South
gosh.
County.
Where did you
So
dig him up, Jackie?
success.
What was the watering hole where you you found this guy?
It was funny, where, there's a bar scene everywhere you go. I know you know that. It is, convivial and, anytime there's events, there's alcohol related. But we decided to go into a restaurant where the bartender was very friendly, but, was like very cautious about who he invited into the circle of, but he had a group of guys that would come in, and he knew Alan, her now, they're going to get married eventually. I think
Her
that's what they both
fiancé.
want. Um,
Yeah.
so I knew he was a good resource where we would know who were the big drinkers and who weren't, who were just there to
Oh,
get in on
wow.
the
That
happy
is a good
hour.
resource.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
was amazing, and, he was really good friends with her now boyfriend, so we got to see how because there's a lot of red flags that go on, when you're initially dating, and you have been, sort of victim to some of that, where if you decide and, I have anybody I work with, when they go through the matchmaking program, they don't have to do it forever, just like dry January. It's just it could be a temporary, could be a sober curious, but I do not want them drinking, especially over drinking while they're dating, because selectivity goes out the window.
Oh my gosh. I've made out with so many guys when I've been drinking the next day. I'm like, what? What? What
Yes.
happened here? I mean, sadly, my ex, he didn't drink on the first day because he was trying to get sober. And, that's a whole other situation. And I thought that was really attractive. But yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. And I love that you found this new approach. I think that I have to admit I'm feeling a bit sad because dating, you get excited and then you get disappointed and then you get excited. And I guess today I'm feeling a little bit disheartened because, I've been like when I was 13, I was about to go to middle school and I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to find a boyfriend. I was one of those. And I did not date middle school. I don't know why, I was 13. And then when I was 20, I think it became very clear to me that I was really afraid of men. And I had this idea from all these books, like, all these books about don't chase him, which are luckily kind of going out of fad, that if I showed the slightest sign of interest, he would be turned off by that. Now I have figured out that's not the case. And then in my 30s, I hired a dating coach. I started getting a lot better at dating. I started learning some basics like if you're bored on this first date, go out with him again. I started learning that if you go out with a bunch, sometimes someone doesn't look great on the apps, but they're great on person. And then you start dating and you start feeling more attractive and people approach you. And so I decided to leave New York because I just found the dating scene to be too difficult. And I moved to San Francisco and it was a lot better there, and I found my first boyfriend, and then you know, I thought I was gonna marry him, but it was just too hard with the alcohol addiction, and, I probably would have stayed had he, lost all desire for me, because of that addiction, lost all intimacy, and so, I kind of have tried at various times to renew my efforts, and it is difficult to psych yourself up again over and over. And this time I think that so I've been I when I turned 41, I thought, okay, I better start trying to have a baby on my own. So I went through two attempts to get pregnant with a sperm donor. Both didn't work. And after both of them, I kind of felt like, I really would rather do this with somebody instead of alone. And so I don't know. And I do have my eggs frozen, so it's still an option for me. I've talked to fertility specialists, but I felt like about a month ago, I felt like, okay, I want to give this another go, like really invest my all into it. And I know it's more than go on one date and then it doesn't work out and then you stop. So I decided to make this podcast and really hold myself accountable. So, yeah, so basically what's happened now is that I think I've gotten almost too good at dating. Like, I'm so good at dating. I have so much confidence. I feel gorgeous. I mean, these guys seem to like me a lot. They ask me out again, but it just seems like nothing lasts more than 2 weeks, and I just feel like I'm continually meeting the wrong guys. I mean, for example, I had the last 3 relationships. I mean, the first guy, I met him on a boat and he turned out to be a player. The second guy was mentally ill and I got really nervous about him being like my ex, because there was just so much stuff there. So that didn't work out. And then I went out with this doctor and he kind of was so nervous and then flaked on me. And then I got and then, then I told you I have this neck brace. I went to CrossFit because I thought maybe I'll meet some guys there instead of the app, and then I sprained my neck. And then I asked some guys to set me up, like people who knew people, and so someone introduced me to this man yesterday, and it couldn't be a worse fit. I mean, it was he's like, and I don't like, he is a good person, but I think there's an issue of compatibility where and I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I've devoted the last 20 years of my life to building a new education system. I have a very big vision for making an impact on humanity, and I care a lot about my health. And this guy he's a taxi driver in Croatia and, was vaping and drinking our whole date. And it's just like, I felt so bad that I didn't like the guy that I actually agreed to go on a second date with him. And his friend kept on asking me how much I liked him. And I was like, oh, I really like him a lot. He's so handsome. I don't even know why I'm like that, but so yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to launch into a whole
No,
story.
no, it's
Save me, Jackie. Help me.
we
Help me.
listen, we need to hear the history, because, that middle school girl deserves to find her right fit,
Thank
right?
you. And Jackie,
And
one
we
more
go
thing. Yeah. I know.
it doesn't work for a lot of people.
I know. I
And
know.
the fact that, women become invisible in their 40s, that's the legacy, unfortunately, my mother left me. She passed
Mm.
early in life at 64, but sadly, when
Um,
the why of wanting to do this matchmaking in the first place for my ideal client would be that person that's, they've given so much of their lives to others, and so they become invisible. For somebody in your profile group, the fact that ghosting is an acceptable act, is just, it's like we should all be up in arms about that. Like, that is unfair. Here you're trying to make everything okay, and even at the falsity of this man, that is not a good fit for you, and it's okay to say that. I get people
yeah.
refer people to me all the time. And, I choose to serve women, and I do it at, much more affordable ways than, these guys who go pay for dates, right? Drop thousands of dollars and say, you do it all for
Yeah.
me. I need people to be doing the work in order to. So
Yeah.
let me just validate you.
Thank you, Jackie. And I guess the
Um,
reason I felt kind of sad today was because I was talking to this other woman and she just said, wow, it's so hard for women in their 40s, like because men don't want to date women in their 40s. And I was like, it's not like I've put off my whole like, dating for the last 20 years. I have been consistently trying
I
to
know
date for the
that.
last 20 years, and
I'm
yeah.
confirming that I hear you, and
Yeah,
I
you do
see
hear me.
you have intentionally designed a full life, and one that includes, obviously, it's not, it's like your location independence. You're an entrepreneur, you're creative, um, and you're not willing to shrink who you are to fulfill what somebody else's expectations of you. So, and the bigger part,
Mhm,
and that this is why I can't work with a lot of people who are referred to me, is that they haven't done the work. You've done the I can tell you are emotionally intelligent, you're self-aware,
mhm.
and you're also reflective.
Thank you.
So, this isn't about my work isn't about, fixing people, but you have to be willing to see, because any relationship you're going to get into, and I'm putting all the good energy out to you because you're
Oh,
doing the
thank
work,
you,
but
Jackie. I
it's going
feel
to
it.
be a mirror of the things that you
Mhm.
still need to work on, right?
Yeah.
And you're deciding to have children. That's huge, and I wouldn't want to have children with people who are still um dealing with, a big addiction. Like, that's scary. I wouldn't want, and, just there's certain things that, you're not expecting the world, but you are expecting somebody to meet you where you're at. And you can do the work together where you're at. We're
Oh, yeah.
always going to be growing, but you have done so much work. You cannot be with somebody who is still tackling the basics. Like, don't smoke. Come on, it's bad. It's just bad for your health
I
and,
felt
the
really sick to
longevity
my
of your life.
Yeah, and I just felt sick to my stomach. Yeah, thank you so much for receiving me so fully. I really appreciate it, and I think it's, one thing that's sad is on one hand, I have surrounded by so many amazing friends, and I receive so much validation from so many different directions, and on the other hand, since I started this podcast, I also have seen that there is a certain segment of people who have a very negative view towards women in their 40s, and that's unfortunate. So, I wonder, I don't know, like, I think yes, and what's amazing about dating is it does give you this incredible opportunity for personal growth. Like, how big can I stretch my heart? How open can I be? What do I need to learn about myself? So, I kind of wonder, what are my blinds? Like, I'm on one hand, I'm afraid maybe some amazing, emotionally intelligent, attractive man is gonna come in, and for some weird reason, I won't feel attracted to him because of my personal psychology. That's one fear. And on the other hand, maybe it's just that I don't know the right places to look for this kind of man who would be a good fit for me.
Well, I mean,
But, um
you've worked some very challenging markets, as we already decided.
What are the
And
easy markets then? Where I don't wanna go anywhere too cold.
well, um, there's I have, but mostly I made a lot of gay friends in my 20 plus years in San Francisco. But it didn't matter what gender preference. It was kind of the Midwestern mentality. Um, you know, it- Somebody who allows somebody to respects kind of the autonomy and still has a gentlemanly, caring support, back. Because,
Yes.
if somebody, we can talk all day about emotional availability, but that person has to respect that and celebrate, actually, your ambition, your ability to change and grow, and you kind of co-create rather than somebody is doing their own thing and you're doing your own thing, because I think that's the bigger I don't want to say turn off, but men who need to have some sort of purpose, or, I need to be that caregiver. I need to be the person who supports, because in essence, you kind of want somebody who's going to receive you in the same way and say, I love you for who you are. I want to grow with you. But part of them get a little nervous about an independent spirit, right? Because then it's like, well, wait,
Mhm.
how am I going to help support them? Where because it's, relationships, in a sense, there's a enablement to them, right? I mean, it's a
Mhm.
codependency on some level, and you don't even realize it's happening, but you start to, especially when people get older, they start looking like their partners, right? Like everything, they, they finish each other's sentences. It's okay to be that way because people grow with each other, but now you're just trying to find your person now, right? So there's not, you didn't get the decade before to get to really know and
To
like figure
fuse.
each
Yeah.
other out. So they're coming to you where they have their ideals and their standards and what they want. But to be honest, a lot of the guys, they're in their 60s and they say, "Oh, I'll take somebody 41." So they're okay with the 20-year difference, going back. But, we need to find you a guy who is okay with you being this beautiful, vivacious, you glow, and give you that space to do it, right?
Mhm.
Not suffocate all those pieces and not try to own or possess, right? But when you have a child with somebody, things that changes too. I personally
Mhm.
never saw myself as wanting that. I
Mhm.
couldn't even imagine myself pregnant or giving birth. So I find it, if you want that, you have to invest in that, like your whole heart
Mhm.
with that, right? And no regrets.
No
So
regrets.
that's why it's tough to work with women who are still at the childbearing need, because I've got the
Childbearing
guys who
issue.
say I don't want children, or I don't want more children, right? You're going to deal with people
Mhm.
who already have children at this age.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So as a recruiter, where would you go if you were me to find
Oh, well, that's what's fun about um sort of transitioning or pivoting from the recruiter mindset into um, you know, where I would go for love for people, right? And it all comes down to, the first session I have with somebody, I have to get clear on what they want to do. It's not
Mm,
about what the guys want. I dated a guy once, and we became really good friends, and I kept asking, so, well, do you are you going to get a dog? Are you going to, no, I'm waiting for the person I meet. And then I'll let them dictate, like, what my religion will be, if I'll have a pet, or if I'm like, why don't you just start living your life and see who fits
mm,
into it when you have that? I know it's more difficult when it's a child, right? So, but you did have that thinking that I'm going to continue to live my life. I'm going to live where I want to live. I'm going to pursue my career the way I want to see it. And I'm not going to settle, but I'm going to be open heart, open mind to
mhm.
the people that, come, into my sphere, whether it's through efforts. Like, I thought that CrossFit unfortunately had a bad trainer. Pickleball is a really big co-ed kind of sport here in Southern California. Um,
You're the
it's
second person to recommend pickleball to me to to
I
meet
not
people.
only did a full, like, my newsletter one month. I have a lead magnet each, kind of a guide or a how to, or 5 tips, but I did a whole thing on pickleball. So um I actually work with, somebody who is starting her own. It's pickleball accessories, like little pickles that you put on your bags and stuff, really cute, high-end stuff. But she's trying to build a community, and those women are my ideal clients because they're single and they're trying to figure out what I want to do, what hobby. Um, and it's a safe environment. You're not, I don't think there's that many injuries. There's not heavy weights that you're doing, right?
Yeah. I
And,
mean, in fairness to
I went
CrossFit,
on
yeah.
one wing woman session. It was a couple years ago. It was one of my first, people who I was trying to work with. She, felt a lot of anxiety around Valentine's Day. being single. She had left her husband who had 12 years
Mhm.
sobriety, and he decided he was going to go back to drinking, and it just destroyed it hurt her heart. So she moved out, all that. But I bought tickets to this. It was on Valentine's Day, and it was to play pickleball, pickleball 101, just like learn how to play. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
my wing woman, it didn't work in my favor because I have a propensity. I've always been really good at sports. So she got put into a lot of the women were in the not so, leveled high. And I was with all their boyfriends and partners. So I was with all the guys in the section because I was a little more, advanced. But in any case, go where your passion lies
Mm.
because you're going to want to do that if it's, I want to learn the Argentine tango.
Mm.
And I would go to BA, right? I'd go to Buenos Aires. Except for it's just
Mm.
not that safe right now to travel down in
Mm.
South America by
I do
myself.
like Latin men.
I
Yeah,
do
I think
too.
Jackie, I feel like, first of all, I just want to say, in all fairness to CrossFit, the place that I went turned out to be an illegal CrossFit studio,
Oh,
and I've had really positive CrossFit experiences. And I told CrossFit what happened, and their legal team is prosecuting this studio.
oh my
So
gosh.
good, and
Okay.
they wrote me the nicest email thanking me for telling them and everything. So yay for CrossFit.
Okay, good. So you're helping
Yeah.
others. That's what I think
Always.
that's your nature.
I
Go
love help.
somewhere.
I'm
Find
a very warm and nurturing
you
person. I love
are.
helping. I mean, I do it for myself, I think, and I think everyone that's like the cure for mental health issues. So I don't know though, but like I feel yes, you're right. And I think that I do there is a value in somewhat shifting some of my activities. For example, I kind of have a sense I'm not going to find my guy here in Croatia. It's just, for example, lots of people smoke here. It's just there's not as many ambitious people. Even though I love living here, the digital nomad seems a little bit weird. It's very drinky. So it did make a difference for me when I moved from New York. Even though San Francisco might be worse than New York, it's just so much better than New York. And Austin was okay, but it was just not the right kinda guy for me. I don't know, so I'm just wondering, like, is there some type of well, you said pickleball, but I'm just
No,
wondering
for you, I think being the digital nomad, really impressive. I love that you're doing this. My first lead magnet was solo travel. And my friend, people who just don't get like, what are you doing? And my friend
I
will
love
say,
solo
are you still
travel.
doing that travel company? And I'm like, but so there is something, and I really love that you created this spirit like that I've been having. I went on with a community. I went on a luxury catamaran and we did this meditative, like we, kind of got into a visualization of our future selves. And all of a sudden,
Mm,
what popped up for me, other people were moving to Portugal. Some people were, they're all women and over 40. And mine was, I was a boss, like on the caldera in Greece. And I was kind of not like, oh, that guy's cute. No, he's got a like, but you could tell I was forming which dates and which, Greek men I would be matching. But
mm,
I was there living, with the intention of helping women that are, either deciding to move over there, but setting them up on their first few dates so that they get their kind of their wings a little bit so they can start doing that on their own. So you're forging ahead without having that community and that support. It sounds like you've got a good inner circle, but not those that are
yeah.
single like you or living the life that you're living, that you want to find this
Yeah, I
partner
mean,
and have a kid.
yeah, exactly. So I think I am pretty good at that part, and I do the friend's value is huge. I mean, even if you have a friend help swipe with you, even though I don't like the swiping, I've gotten pretty good at just picking guys up on the street or having guys approach me. I mean, it's
Good for you.
crazy. But it's like it's still kinda the wrong guys, and I don't know or maybe there isn't a guy out there, but okay, so this is what I wanted to talk to you about because we speak this recruiting language. I have found I have a special talent for networking. I think it's a gift and,
You
you know,
either,
for
and this is the thing I found, you either have that and have the courage to go just plunge in, or you
yeah.
don't. It's hard to teach that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking about how I can maybe use this for my love life. So just to give you an example, when I was in my 20s, I figured out I was an actress, and I said, "Okay, of all the people in the world, this is the director I would most like to work with." And I just developed this whole strategy. I translated one of his plays to English. I met a famous actor. We wrote to him. He invited us over, and within 3 years, he was gonna write a play for me starring in it at an off-Broadway theater. It fell through for various reasons, and then there's this one guy in tech who has 2 million followers. He never does podcast interviews, and I found a way to get him to come on my podcast. And I just seem to be, and I like, for example, I met you, you didn't even know me, right? And I just feel like maybe if I had a clearer sense of what kind of man, I would be able to find him and recruit him, but I just don't know who he is, you know? I mean, sometimes I think, "Oh, he's a rich tech engineer," but that's not really enough to go on. I
Mhm.
mean, and those
Yeah,
techie
you gotta look past, lots of things, activities are great, but, like, you've gotta find ways to look past the surface. Like, you're looking like, you gotta go inward
Mhm.
because 'cause you're inward. You're doing the work.
Yeah.
You need to find guys that are doing the work, and,
Mm.
the guys that I am referred,
A
they
good
know that
point.
I am they're being patient because I'm trying to find their people, to match, but they are doing, meditation, regularly. They go on retreats. They do
Mm.
have a, group of people that aren't just women, that are, adoring them, but like, they've got guy friends. My sister's guy meets his group. He's into cars, like antique cars. He meets his guys every day at Starbucks. He's got a group of guys because they can play, they can talk to each other. Like, what do you think about this gal? I went on a date with, like, men need that same space that you're
Mhm.
craving,
Yeah.
but you've gotta find them, in I guess in the same idea that they're thinking outside of, like, the US, and I need this particular cookie cutter kinda thing. So, somebody who's open, I'd say,
I'll start going to men's
health
group.
the men's well,
I'm just kidding.
there are, when
That's
I
why
thought about doing a recent, an event, because, I have to guide, if I do an event, it's for 1 or 2 women clients, and I have to then
Okay.
span out. I've got my 5 to 10 guys that are in my database right now. They don't pay anything, right? So they just kinda sit, and when I run people past them, a lot of them don't want children, so I can't say, "Hey, what about," let me say. So
Yeah.
that is, their deal breaker. But I did meet one woman once upon a time, and she was lovely. She went through a horrible divorce. She even wrote a book
Mm.
about it, and it inspired me later. I recently wrote a book. I'm editing and doing
Oh,
that. So
great.
she inspired me. I hope to have inspired her. And when we first met, I'll never forget, we met and she said, "Oh," and she decided to go alcohol free, so that's why she was referred to me. Lovely, like, she had owned a dance
Mm.
studio with her beautiful South American husband who cheated on her
Oh,
with people that were members of this dance studio. So
I don't know how
horrible,
women can do that to each other
but
also. I mean, it's the
cathartic.
man.
She did the Yeah, it's horrible, and, she lost her mom through the process. I,
Gosh.
went to the service, but in any case, we met and she said really clearly, I said, "Well, what about guys who are in AA?" She said, "I don't really want to deal with that, just like you. Like, it's a lot of work people have to get through the addiction."
5
Um,
years is okay. 5 years sober.
yeah, exactly. Like, you have a certain amount of time to say, I believe that you have changed your life, because change doesn't come easy for a lot of people. Um,
But
but for
not
her,
alcohol.
she said clearly, I really want somebody who is Christian. And I said, "Well, I find guys who are spiritual. What do you think?" "No, I said, "Well, was the ex at church with you? Like, is this a good indication?" Jackie, I've asked, 'cause she had a really strong relationship with the God Christian
Mm.
God. And so all I said was, "That's not who I'm gonna pull out of my database as it stands right now. So I'm gonna ask you to do 2, homework assignments, and that is go straight to your pastor at your church and say, 'I'm single and I've gone through a lot. I need somebody who can hold my space, and take care of my heart because I don't want to become
Yeah.
jaded. I want to know that God has a bigger purpose for me. So sit and have counsel with your pastor. And then the second piece is do at least three, not just one and get shy away. Do at least three Christian based mixers. Church has to have them. There's other churches that have them, but get out there in front because she was so dynamic, just like you. Had this she became a flight attendant. She wanted to fly places, but she just had that spirit where people just wanted to get to know her. She had that networking
Yeah.
piece to her. So she's married. She met through her pastor.
Amazing. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. I was thinking I should maybe have a rabbi on the show. Maybe that.
Are you, do
I'm
you have
not
Judaism?
Jewish. I'm not Jewish. I'm actually Catholic, but it's a bit tricky because I think I have pretty liberal views. Not, you know, I don't know. I'm pretty open minded. I definitely would be open to dating a conservative guy, but it does get challenging, you know. Yeah.
Well, a lot of women, they call us shiksa, I guess.
Yeah.
But a lot of women love the persona, the calm of a strong Jewish man.
Well, yeah, and
And
also both my grandfathers were Jewish and my
oh,
grandmothers were Christian.
yeah,
So I'm like
you
55%. And I feel like Jews are pretty intellectual and I don't know, I feel like those rabbis are doing a lot of matching.
well, and I think
So
these
yeah.
days, what is it? Nobody Wants This, that show with Kristen Bell.
I haven't
With
seen
she
it.
Oh, you should see it. The first season's
Probably.
great. The second one's a little, gets a little, everything jumps the shark eventually. But Nobody Wants This is about a shiksa dating a rabbi. And the challenges that come in, it's more familial like issues that come in. The moms don't want, somebody who's not Jewish. There's an issue of conversion. Would you convert? It sounds like because you have that in your lineage, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. And I do believe people meet their people in the best, like, soul to soul when it has to do
Mhm.
with their spiritual practice. And that could
Yeah.
be, spiritual practice can mean a lot of things. Um, my friend, it's the beach. When she's around water that's moving, and so
Mm.
that's I say you're lovely, your frame is beautiful, go to the beach.
Go to the
Like,
beach.
to me, you can't you can't DoorDash your next partner, right? They can't be delivered to your door.
You
So,
can.
if you're
I've had Uber
well,
drivers ask me out, but yeah, you don't want
I
that.
I've
Yeah.
made out with a couple Uber drivers
Oh,
over
well, there
my
you go. I
my
mean,
years
you
because
gotta, mama gets
when you're
hungry. What can you say?
drinking and you're in San Francisco and you've got your Halloween costume on and you're being driven around, it's like you're
Listen, yeah,
princessy, but that is not who you're gonna end up with.
I feel like I've been a little bit too harsh on Uber drivers in this show as the archetype of anti-elitist. But yeah, no, I mean, so many of those Uber drivers are building startups and doing all kinds of stuff. Not so
And
much in
listen,
Croatia, but
the gig economy
Mhm.
is a necessary, um not evil, but you've got to choose which one you'd be willing, because making a pivot in your career,
Yeah.
unless you want to go get a loan, which is not a fun thing to do. For me, I picked up job coaching for neurodivergent clients because I know that's where I can make an
Amazing.
impact. I love them. A couple of them have wanted me for dating. So we're working out sort of like using, doing that kind of transition over that way because I got them jobs. Now it's time, they get the job, they get some mobility, they get the driver's license, and then they want to date. So that's kind of that's been fun. But the other part is, you got to make rent. And living in the state of California, and you've lived there and you've lived in New York, it's expensive. So my gig economy isn't picking people up or dropping off food for them. I go and take care of their cats for them when they travel.
Beautiful. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think you just have to remember, like, that you couldn't find a really creative person doing that. kind of work
Yes.
as
And
well.
a
So
love for something that you love. I have a dog. I love my mini Bernedoodle. Mr. Bernie is my partner right now. Um, but I miss having the cats because I had cats, Franks and Beans in San Francisco for, 18 years with my ex. And, you know, I can't have cats myself, but I do appreciate cats. And so, anybody who respects, oh, I love that you do that. But
Mhm.
does it define me? I'm not a crazy cat lady, right? I'm choosing not to be by making money, by taking care. But the goal was to help people like me. When I lived in San Francisco and I had two cats at one point, I wanted to travel, yet I wanted them to be cared for and not worry when I was traveling. So
Yeah.
that's why this service is almost helping women. A lot of them are single, and there's some single guys who have cats, you know?
Yes. All right. I want to rewind it back to something before we start talking about Uber drivers, which you
Okay.
said, which I thought was very valuable around this idea of a man having some sort of anchor for personal growth. And I really like the idea of them being involved in some type of, it could be Judaism, Christianity, men's group, very good. Even AA or Al Anon, just something that gives them an anchor for the relationship because I think community, someone who is invested in evolving, um, and I like the idea of a group setting because I think sometimes men in one-on-one therapy are obsessed with their therapy. I don't know if you've ever been on a date with a guy who's just
Oh,
obsessed with
no,
his therapy. It's
there's
just
a ton of, it smells and tastes like narcissism when you're there having a meal, and it's all about, like, their deep and, especially getting trained in psychology. I feel it's almost an abuse of our what should be a reciprocal, time, right? A
yeah.
give and take. But yeah, it's a turnoff. Because then it's like, oh, I'm so self-absorbed. Like that's all we can talk about is like all your growth. You're living yours. You're actually putting yourself out there. It's the bravery, it's the courage, but you don't have to say it. You don't have to like go through it. It's what you exude. So
Yeah.
they're not ready for you. The ones that are like immersed in therapy right now.
I mean, it's also I just feel like there's certain distinction between, okay, you're doing therapy and therapy is all you think about. Like you're doing therapy to live your life to the fullest. And then I also like then there's the kind of masochistic guys who are just always growing. I'm just want to grow and always want to talk about their growth and anyway, so that's but I like the idea of a men's group. Like my uncle who I adore is in a Bible group and I think that group really is a strong anchor for him and for his marriage. So I think that's definitely kind of a thread that I could follow. You're other centered. I mean, even people who are involved in men's groups who might know men, I think it's a
Well,
good. Mhm.
my sister's partner, Jack, the bartender. I told him, I met him later, at like a 60th, at his Alan's 60th birthday party. I said, Jack, you were my referral source. You were it. You sat, and um, you saw the compliment to each other, somebody who was there, and you made it feel comfortable enough because he
Mm.
initially said, I'll never forget, like it was kind of a little uncomfortable, but he kind of had us and oh, Alan, come over here. Do you guys want to go see, it was like REO Speedwagon or some like older band, but like Alan really loves music. He has a whole music room with guitars and, he likes Rush and Metallica, like hardcore stuff.
Mhm.
But so he spoke to a common, interest. And even if it wasn't like, oh, I really want to go to that concert, it was a group situation where it wasn't a lot of pressure. And, it's like, it'll just happen if it happens. Right. So those people and they're already in a relationship, they're not trying to vie for the best person to refer your partner, not the one that referred the Uber or the smoker, the one you recently had, but that they know you enough and they think that this person is ready for you. And that's not a lot of people have that skill set. They just go, oh, she's single, she's hot. He's a
He's
cool
my
guy. He knows
friend.
his trivia.
I
Whatever,
love it.
whatever
Guys
the
are the
deal is
worst
that
judge of other
yeah.
men. It's, like, so embarrassing.
Well, you're not
Just
gonna wanna listen to that kind of person. You can be friends with them,
yeah.
but you can say you're bad. Like, there are the wing women and wing men, that you should feel safe enough to go out with and say, "What do you think about that?" So you're not, like, I think in the interview with Mel, you guys mentioned, but my friend who moved to, Austin, you know, he was texting me and I said, "Did you go out? Did you go to that event?" There you can right now you can look at, are you in Split? Is that where you live in
Mhm,
Croatia?
yeah. Split
There's
Croat.
plenty, there's probably meetups happening right now. There's,
Yeah.
you wanted to learn about, I don't know, some local cuisine, or there's something that's not wine tasting or alcohol related. There's probably plenty of
Yeah.
events happening, things, a hike that's happening in an area, whatever the deal is. But
Mhm.
when he was there and he was following my advice, I said, "Why are you texting me? Your phone, nobody's going to come look at you or come up and approach you. So you already know these basic things. You're not going to be there and, afraid. You can probably do a lot of these things solo, but wouldn't it be great if you can bring along somebody who gets who you are and be that wing person for you?" Right?
Absolutely, yeah, and it's so much more fun picking people up when your friend is there because if they're rude, it can just be a joke. Like, can you believe you asked that guy where he likes to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom or whatever you ask her, So,
And
yeah, I agree.
I think it's your bold side that comes out when you're doing that, and that's the kind of, you want a man that you're gonna be with to see that bold side early. You don't need to shrink, you don't need to dim your glow. You need to see, somebody needs to be fully, like, aware of who you are and let you have that space. And that's when you're gonna feel fully free. There's freedom in who you love to have. If you wouldn't be living in Croatia right now if you didn't love to have your freedom. But
I love
it's
to
not, it shouldn't be at the expense of having a really loving relationship. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm rooting for you.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. I mean, okay, so I guess we've been talking now for around, wow, whoa, time has flied 50 minutes. And so you've kind of started to get to know me a little bit better. And you're so nice to listen to the podcast. So you've given me some really concrete tips, like talking to rabbis and looking for men's groups. I mean, is there anything, you kind of are sensing might be like more internal work that has yet to be done? And I'm really like, I'm not going to be offended or anything. I'm really open to receiving
No, I
feedback.
wanted to make sure I started with with I see you and I see all the work you've done. I know when I have people referred to me, that's a really hard question. And usually they don't want to do the work, so they kind of fall out. Like, they don't become a matchmaking client because there's a transformation that needs to happen, whether it is that person who had to write the book on divorce because it was so contentious. She went through that and she got through a lot of those things. I can't have somebody who's jaded, um resentful, mad because they gave the best years to somebody. Like, I can't have anybody in that, because I'm not going to match them with the guys that I have held in my database waiting for their right person,
Your
right?
treasure chest.
Yeah, and so I don't just take on, and I'm not gonna have, like, like a lot of these matchmaking companies will take anybody on. "Oh, you're gonna pay 50 grand to match." My matchmaking program is all action. It's work. So it's nobody's gonna slide by and go, "Oh, here, we're gonna put you out there." So when I not only listened to you in the episode I watched, but just knowing who you are and you starting out with what you were talking about, you've done the work. You
Thank you.
are you are ready. You just need to have, ways in which to let them know and, open that gate up to, like, have the people come to you.
Mm,
And when I say
I
people,
love
I
that
mean,
image.
it's going to be people that are referred or recommended to you, I think,
Mm.
because, it's a tough game to be out there, especially in a foreign country. And I don't know if you speak. the language.
I'm picking up a little Croatian, but I'm really clear on that. This is a global search. I don't
Okay.
know that actually my friend, I'm very I'm into the mystical realms and a friend of mine, he's actually a neuroscientist, read my tarot reading yesterday and it felt like
Mm.
I think he reflected something similar to you that like this is going to happen when traveling. There was a card with a boat and a water. So I've been talking to a couple matchmakers and saying, I'm open to any as long as it's sunny. I need that sun, but I'm willing to move to meet someone. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I lived in Italy when I was married, so I did not get the opportunity to dabble, myself, but in Greece, I've traveled there a few times. There's
Mhm.
a confidence and there's a passion, an
They're
uncur
so
like a s
warm.
yeah. I think, I'm feeling Greece for both of us. I
Yeah,
sit and,
I do.
look at
Let's go.
I look at this
We
all the
go next
time.
week.
And so
Italian
I
guys are the
would
worst, by the way. God love them. That was the worst. That's the worst country I ever dated in. I mean, oh, and I'm
which
sure there's
country?
amazing Italian. It's Italy.
Oh, yeah. I felt that they were sadly, if any Italian friend of mine is listening, Italian men, they're mama's boys. And, that's
So
not
chauvinistic. I haven't encountered
yeah.
that level of chauvinism in a I think that also probably I was doing the apps and maybe more of the what? I met some nice Italian guys. One guy got me a croissant. It's nice. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, but Greece, I think yeah, Greece is oh, the people are just so loving. Like I go into a store and someone in the street like giving me a kiss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's something to be said, I think, about, the I believe, and I wrote in my book, it's about a modern matchmaker who goes time travels back, and she goes back to ancient Greece because a lot of matchmaking,
Oh,
has been happening for centuries. But, you know, going back means, like, understanding that there's history and, I think there was Atlantis, there was a civilization there, that there's something volcanic in the ground and that
mm,
energy, there's lots of things that, like, are open, but, you could have been part of some of these civilizations if you have that thinking, right? And you might be
yes,
just returning
absolutely.
home, and
It,
that's where your
oh,
person is,
I
right? So
love that.
it just sounds like you're
Mm.
so open to anything goes that there is just no way you're not gonna meet and I want you to have a variety to choose from and not have to be, and I'm not saying be so selective it's rigid, but I
Yeah.
think you should get as close to everything you want and desire without having to compromise.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Yeah, yeah, it's a strange thing. I feel it really pains me to express to someone that I don't feel like we're a good fit for each other. It's like this guy, there's nothing wrong with him, you know? It's just that our life experiences are so different and how we're kind of processed. Like he doesn't even know why he goes to church. He just goes, you know? He's
Mhm.
so I feel like but it's like his friend introduced me to him and I feel like, wow, that was so nice of the friend to introduce him and, and I
It
find
is
myself
a
like,
form it's a form of flattery when somebody says, "Oh, I've got somebody I want you to meet." It means that they know you've done the work, but it's okay to say, "You're not good at this." Right? Like, it's okay. Like, I love that you thought about me, but let's just keep it our a friend thing. And if you want to go out with me like as a wingman, I'm fine with that. But like let's not tap into your to your friend base because I don't want to hurt anybody, but you're hurting somebody by not being honest and saying that, because they can
no.
move on, right? And you can say, I had fun with you. I just don't see us being a lot like it's hard for everybody, but it's your honesty is setting him free,
I
right?
know, and I don't know what is wrong with me, like, I'm telling him like, I'm responding as if I'm so excited to see him on Tuesday, and, like, his friend's like, "What did you think about him? Tell me honestly," and I'm like, "Oh, I think he's so handsome and nice." I mean, what am I doing? I don't know, and I value honesty, it's just
Well, and he can't. They're not mutual exclusive, thoughts. He can be attractive and he can be
yeah,
nice,
that's
but he
true.
doesn't have to be your person.
He's not yeah, he's not the right fit for me. Oh God. Okay. Leave that on a back burner. Jackie, when is your book published yet, or is it gonna come
No,
out?
I am on the I did it's called Novel November, where you are every day, right? To the final goal was to meet 50,000 words, which I did. And I'm just going chapter by chapter. It's it's called the Matchmaker's Compass. So the compass is what she travels. It's
Mm,
historical fiction, a little memoir, because Greece is part of that, and time travel, all the things I love to read. But then there's a practical companion, a handbook that each place she goes back to, she comes and has wisdom and circles, community circles for women. That's a
mm,
big it builds confidence. It builds the idea of you know holding each other in the best light. And you need to not always have to rely on you, right? You're so independent. Have the community of women
mm,
who for centuries have always given advice and helped support and hold you up. So I'm not saying, oh, now I need you to go find a
mm,
community and build that. But
mm.
I will say it'll be less pressure on you if you find a community of women, like-minded women who are going through some of the same struggles. This is a beautiful way to capture some of those people and create the community for all of you ladies. Um, but so chapter by chapter, I do talk. There is the alcohol piece. Living alcohol free provides the authenticity, and those are some. It's always going to have these themes in my world. But midlife is sort of where I've been captured into. That's what I feel was the legacy of my mom becoming invisible, and then seeing my
Mm,
sister at 50. So I'm sticking with my niche for as long as I can, even though sometimes they're not ready. You're
no.
ready.
Thank you, Jackie. Well, I
And
was
I
just
will
gonna say when you
refer
publish
anybody I run across, right?
when you thank you. When you publish the book, I want to definitely have you back on the show so we can help
Oh, thank
promote
you.
it.
I would love
I
that.
want I want to share your website with people so they can take advantage of your services. So this is Ignite Life and Love. And you just have such an important and beautiful demographic here working with women in midlife. We're amazing. We're so self-realized. And the alcohol piece, it's really incredible. I think that there's a lot of people who are going to be excited that this exists. I guess if you have a few more minutes, I think, we talked a lot about me on the show, and I think people will be curious kind of the process you go through with women from kind of beginning to finding their person.
Yeah, you know, I would love to say that women, by the time they get to their mid 40s, they're ready and they know everything about. They're just. It's like they're almost um, refinding themselves. And so,
Um,
with change and these, places that they really envisioned that they were going to be that, you know, grandparent with their partner, or a lot of them, some
right.
of them have lost their partners, so that's unfair that they've had to live this life without them. But
Yeah.
a lot of them have come to terms with giving and being that caregiving mentality isn't working for them. So, they retire from being a nurse, and then their kids are already signing them up to be the nanny granny. Right. And where's room for them? And so, they really have to find who they are at a time when they should have, they already thought they knew who they were. So that's fun. That transformation is when you see those lights turn on, or you see them, I went down and I did this, or I learned pickleball, or the continuous learner and the person who's self-aware are going to be best suited to really take on the matchmaking program in its
Yeah.
fullest, because you have to be out there. You cannot go to an event and sit in a corner, because it's the events are really, they're curated for the person specifically. So
Wow.
it's a lot of attention in a culture usually where they start to become invisible at that that sign, or let their children be the center stage and they kind of back away. And now I'm
Yeah.
asking them to ignite their life, right? And be, get everything they've worked hard for. So it's a fun challenge. It's a lot of work though. And you've done all
Yeah.
that work. So
It's amazing.
I'm
So
proud of
when you
you.
actually start taking women out, you're actually curating events for them where they can meet men, and you're taking them out to venues and kind of
Yeah.
teaching them to initiate conversations and spot who they might want to speak to and things like that.
And it's a community that I'm building first, right? So it's about 30 women consistently that are always like, so what's going on this month? And I send a newsletter out to, kind of alert like what the theme is. That, last year my January was all about dry January, and I posted on social like every day, motivation or why this is a good and my people have gotten through that first year, or they decided to drink in moderation, or, there's no requirement to be alcohol free, but these are ways, they're alternatives to meet men that aren't infused with a bunch of booze. Right. So
Yeah.
it's, the Orange County Fair happens very close. And I did a do this scavenger because launching my website, I had them do a scavenger hunt of find out why this, or find it on the website. And through that, whoever won, I gave a wing woman session. We went to it was a Fleetwood Mac cover band, but it was the demographic was perfect for this woman, and we met a group of men that led her to joining a pickleball club. So it's just trying to get the momentum started. That's all
Mhm.
people, sometimes it's just like, get out of the house, find a reason. And it doesn't have to be everything that you've ever, I've got to only do this book club, or I want this. It can be exploring, and you go one time and like, ugh, that didn't work. That's okay. You did something that was different, and you've
Mm.
challenged yourself a little bit, and there's courage in that. And with
Beautiful.
courage, it confidence builds each time. So
That's
I really want
incredible.
women to look at the insides, and not just say, I'm going to spend $1,000 a month to do Botox and do GLP to lose weight, or the surface stuff. If that's what you're looking for, that's not what Ignite Life and Love's about.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if you're interested in signing up, you can go to ignitelifeandlove.com. And Jackie, is there anything else that we didn't touch upon you think is important for people to hear
No,
in your
I
heart?
think you're really skilled at what you do here. And
Well, thank
it
you
comes from a
for
place
finding
of
love. I'm
there's a
looking
place
for
of
love.
playfulness. You've got playfulness, and you've
Yeah,
also got vulnerability. And
thank you. I
those
really
for the
appreciate you saying
that
that.
your person will know that and will run towards that. And
Oh, thank
you're ready.
you. Thank
I know
you
you're
so much
ready.
for saying so.
So,
I really love my life. I'm so happy. And it's really just kind of a whisper in my ear of, you always kind of wanted this. Let's see what happens if you go after it. So I really appreciate you have such a warm presence about you. And I really appreciate how much you receive me and validate me. And I'm excited to continue the conversation and for more
I
people
will
to
be
discover
tracking
your
you, and I want
Oh,
you to,
yes. Same.
I want to hear when things feel
I
right.
will. I will. I'll keep you up to date.
And I'll send any and all potential referrals, European style.
Bless you.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks so much, Jackie. Have a great
Yeah.
day.
You too. Bye.